Are you generating leads online, but you're wanting to know how to convert more of them? If so, you have asked for it, and this is going to be the definitive guide. I'm going to share with you my top tips and strategies to convert online leads at a much higher rate and how you can find more success. Take a look at this video. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Kevin Smullin with 2Q Lead Generation Strategies. What we do is we help real estate agents dominate their social media marketing so that they generate more leads, close more transactions, and find more success. So if you're wanting more tips, more strategies, just like the ones you're going to learn today, please consider subscribing. Click on that button down below. We'd love to have you be part of our community and part of our channel. With that being said, today what we're going to be talking about is I'm going to cover in detail the tips and strategies that will help you convert more online leads. So what often happens as agents are growing their business is fundamentally most agents run into two problems in growing their business. Number one is that they just simply aren't generating enough leads. They haven't generated enough opportunities to be successful. And so I've done tons of videos on this channel about lead generation, about different ways that you can find success. I'm going to put a link right up here to where you can go watch one of those videos about lead generation. That will not be the focus of this video, but you can still go learn that if that's something you're wanting to learn. Also down below in the description, I'll put a link to our Buyer Lead Bootcamp. So the Buyer Lead Bootcamp is showing you how to generate leads step by step and how to set it up on Facebook. So if you want more information about that, go check out that course. Again, I'll put a link to it down below. Now, the second problem that most people run into once they've fixed the first problem, which is now they're generating enough leads, the second problem is they typically just aren't converting enough of them for it to turn into business. And that really is the reason for today's video, is to help you solve that second problem and walk you through this process. So the simple fundamental truth is that most people are not finding greater success simply because they just have the wrong process that they're using. So I'm going to share some interesting statistics and things that will it basically is going to blow your mind and help you see this in a completely different light. But as I do that, I'm going to break today's video into two different pieces. So one piece is going to be the short-term follow-up. So what you're doing at the moment that the lead is generated. And then the second piece is going to be the longer-term follow-up, the drip system, staying constantly in contact with them, because that is equally important. So as we talk about both of these components, the short-term and the long-term, what I find is most agents don't have a system or a process for either. And that is a lot of the reason why they're not seeing higher success rates. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the content. And let's just talk about, the short-term process first. Now, whenever we are generating leads online, our primary objective is to take that online lead and turn it into an offline conversation as quickly as we possibly can. Okay, our objective, again, write this down, this is super important. We want to take that offline or the online lead and turn it into an offline conversation as quickly as possible. So with that having been said, it's important that you are consistent in your follow-up. So I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to show you some numbers. I once attended a training that Zillow did on lead conversion, lead follow-up. I wanted to see what they were actually teaching people in this arena. And what I found was quite shocking, and I'm sure you're going to find the same. So they obviously, as they sell leads to real estate agents, agents are paying them thousands of dollars for those leads. And so they track, they're doing their best they can to help people be more successful. And in their tracking and in their monitoring what's going on with the leads, this is the data that they found. So what you're seeing here is lead response, the number of attempts that agents make to contact the lead. So what they found, and it's staggering, is that 47% of the time the lead was never even contacted. Let that rumble around your head for a second. That 47% of the time, almost half of all the leads that Zillow generated that they were selling to real estate agents, the agent never followed up, not even once. Crazy when you think about it. You'll notice the next is 24%, and they contacted once, right? So one contact. Now, if you think about it, think about how often somebody becomes a lead on the first contact. You know that the answer to that question is next to never, right? So rarely does a lead ever become a contact or become a client, buying or selling, whatever it is we're talking about. Rarely does that happen on the first contact. It usually takes multiple contacts, especially if it's someone that you've generated online. They don't know you. There's not a prior relationship. You'll find that very, 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 very rarely do they ever become a customer or a client on that first contact. So with that being the case, if you're only attempting to contact them once, I would tell you, you were absolutely missing the boat. And in fact, if you want me to be honest and frank with you, I would tell you that if your intent is to only contact them once, then online lead generation is not for you. You won't be successful because that's not what it's going to take to be successful, right? Here's the reason why. So anyway, the thing you want to take from this is if you add the 47% plus the 24%, that means that a staggering 71% of the time, people are contacted once or less. Crazy when you think about that, right? Now, the next statistic they shared was this one. And this one is equally eye-opening. So what you're seeing here is the probability of contact, the probability of success of reaching the person, and the number of contacts, right? So you'll notice here on the first contact attempt, 39% success rate of actually reaching the lead. And that makes sense. In today's day and age, if it's if you're calling, they're probably going to let it go to voicemail because they don't recognize your number. And so oftentimes you aren't going to reach the person right away. But here's where things get crazy. Remember how we said most people only contact once or less, 71% of the time? Well, that means 39% of people are actually successful making contact on that first one. And so it's extremely low. If they try a second time, it almost doubles. It's up to 72%. And you'll notice that the more we go, the higher that number is. So one of the biggest secrets that I could ever share with anybody about converting online leads is it's the consistency of the number of contacts, right? Too often, people are just not contacting them enough. And that's one of the major reasons that it's causing them to fail. So with that, it's important to realize that it's not only important the consistency, but the number of contacts. So here's what I recommend. With online leads, you really need three components in your short-term follow-up for this to work and be successful. So number one, you need to have an email drip system, right? So you need to have an email drip system. That email drip system, it's just a matter of making sure that they get repeated contacts over time. So I have an email drip system that I use. If you'd like that, just leave a comment below. I'll make arrangements and send that to you. But that drip system is important because it's just automating contacts so that you stay in front of them. The second thing that you're going to need is you're going to need to be consistent and have a follow-up system for phone calls, right? When that lead is generated, the ideal situation is that there's an automated email that goes out. That's your first touch point, whether you can contact them or not, right? So that first email that goes out, giving them whatever it is that you promised to give them, the follow-up piece, that's super important because you might not be available to call the lead right away. Now, if you are available to call the lead, you should. So statistics have shown that if you're able to follow up with the lead within the first 5 minutes of the lead being generated, that your conversion rate is 9 times higher than if you don't. And it makes sense. It's fresh on their mind. They just, they just filled out a form or they just did something to trigger that phone call. And so the faster you can follow up through phone, the better. So again, we want to take that online lead and turn it into an offline conversation as quickly as we can. Now, once you have called, the truth, the simple truth of the matter is you're probably going to get voicemail because they don't recognize your phone number. They're just going to let it go to voicemail. So I believe that you should leave a message, right? So if you've left a message, as you've seen on this graph, the second and the third time you attempt to reach them, it's going to be a phone number that they recognize. They're more likely to answer it if you have called, left a message, and then they see that you're calling again at some point, right? So that is a big factor, is you want to make sure that you're available to call, and you have to commit to doing this more than once, right? You can't call once and say, well, didn't reach them, they're not interested. If you're going to do that, then online leads are not the way for you to go. Whether you're doing Facebook leads or Zillow or anything else, frankly, it doesn't matter. You're just not going to see results from it, because part of the success of doing this is the consistency of the follow-up, right? The third piece of this is you're going to want to have a text system. If you've got a database that allows SMS messaging, then great, use that, right? Use the text messaging features to help you automate this. But some people prefer texting, some people prefer a phone call, some people prefer an email. And from our perspective, we don't really care which way they want to respond. My recommendation would be just open up the lines of communication all three ways and let them communicate the way they want to communicate. But we want to make sure that you've got plenty of touch points, because that is a critical component for your success. Now, once you have established this process, the next key for short-term success, your short-term follow-up, is you want to also make sure that you're avoiding one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of agents make. So as an example, let's say you generated a possible buyer lead online. One of the biggest mistakes I see agents make is they will be too salesy in their follow-up. So when I say too salesy, what that means, or what that sounds like in the case of a buyer lead, is it would be, hey, do you want to go see the property? Hey, when do you want to go see the property? What properties would you like to go see? You're just constantly selling. And what I find from my experience is most people don't really respond to that, right? It only takes one or two of those messages before they realize, yeah, I really don't want to talk to this person, because they're constantly selling. They're kind of annoying, right? What I find will get you better results is if you offer additional things, right? So I would tell you, rather than being the salesperson, take the role of being the trusted advisor. So inform, educate, provide value. If you're doing those kinds of things, my experience is people respond much better to that. So when we're talking about offering value and doing different things, there's lots of things that you can do as a real estate professional to provide value. So like, for example, let's go back to the buyer's lead, because it's just a simple example. If you've generated a buyer lead online, let's say you offered information about a specific home. So you were marketing a listing, somebody was interested, you now have a possible buyer lead. So when they responded and you created that buyer lead, they may not be interested in that specific property. So the next logical follow-up would be, hey, if that's not the property that meets your needs, let me pull a custom list for you. Let me find homes that specifically meet your needs and see if any of those are of interest to you, right? So offer to pull a list of homes that are specific to their criteria, right? That's valuable. That's way more valuable than, do you want to go see the home? Do you want to go see the home? Do you want to go see the home, right? Another thing that you could do is offer a hot sheet to where they're getting automated updates, right? So you can set that up through your MLS service, put in the search criteria, and just have it automated. What's nice about that is you get a lot of touch points, a lot of contacts with them, and it's totally automated. And it's information that they requested, which is even better, right? So offer a hot sheet. Hey, and here's the way that I would recommend positioning that. As you know, the real estate market is quite active, and oftentimes the properties that are great don't stay on the market very long. So I would hate to see you miss out on something just because you didn't know about it. So one of the services I provide is, if you'd like, I can set you up on this automated search that will notify you instantly of any new property that hits the market that fits your that fits your criteria. That way you're not going to miss out on something that's that potentially is going to be of interest to you. See, that is something valuable, and it makes it sound like you're looking out for them, which you are. And that's what is very critical for this process. You could offer information about what's going on in the market. Hey, here, you had expressed interest in this area. Here's what's going on statistic-wise in the area. Properties are appreciating at this rate. There's this many properties for sale. And, here's the best school systems in the area. I mean, there's all kinds of information that you can provide to people that, again, is valuable for what they're looking for. So that would be one of the main things that I would recommend is be valuable, right? Provide the information that they're looking for. But I would recommend having an email drip that goes out. The one that I have, it's 5 messages that go out over 7 days. That's the way that I recommend setting it up. You should be calling at least once a day, if not twice, trying different times of the day to reach people. Send a text message once a day. So for the first week that the lead is generated, you want to have a short-term, intense, frequent contacts during that 7-day period. And at that point, if you haven't heard from them, we don't ignore it and we don't throw it away. We just put them into a longer-term drip. Right? This is the second area where most agents fail, is they just don't have a long-term follow-up system. So when I ask an agent if they have a database, 3 out of 4 times the answer I hear is no. Very, very few agents have a database, which it's crazy to me, but they just have no way of marketing their business, right? So you want to have a solution for that. One of the things that we teach people, and if you've been following our information, then great. If you haven't, then what are you doing? Please do. But let me share this with you. So one of the main strategies that we teach with Facebook is that as we generate leads, we want to use Facebook as a database, as a dripping system, to where once they have responded to an ad, they've become a lead, they've watched a video, they've clicked on something. Once they've done any of these things, those are leads that we want to continue to stay in front of. And so as they become a lead, they go into this database where we just repetitively keep marketing to them. So this is a longer term system. It's not where I'm calling them every single day or I'm calling them every other day or whatever. They're just continually seeing our marketing on Facebook. And so what happens is our focus is on building their trust, right? We want to create that trust so that they know you, they like you, they trust you, they want to do business, because people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So that is super critical. And here's the reason why, right? You already know this, at least I hope you do, but in the real estate industry, the leads that you generate today are probably not going to be closing at the very fastest for at least 30 to 45 days. Those are the ones who are ready right now, which most of them aren't, right? The leads that we generate today, you're probably going to be closing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6+ months down the road. And so because you know that the leads we generate today are going to be buying or selling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6+ months down the road, if you don't have a system that accounts for the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6+ months, then you're just leaving money on the table. So what you'll find with online leads is the statistics that people tell you is that anytime you're working with a cold lead, and all that, it doesn't mean the lead is bad. It just means that up to this point, it just means they don't know who you are. There's no prior relationship, right? So anytime you're dealing with online leads, whether it's Facebook or Zillow or wherever you're getting the leads, frankly, it doesn't matter. It's the same situation. Typically, your conversion rate is about 1 to 3%. 3% on the high side if you're really consistent about your follow-up, right? 1% is if you're not so consistent about the follow-up. But basically what that means is for about every 100 leads you generate, typically 1 to 3 of those will turn into a transaction. But the key to that is over time, right? So I would tell anybody who's generating leads to take a long-term approach to this. Some of those people, a very small percentage, are going to be ready to do business with you right now. Most of them are going to be ready over time. And so you've got to take into consideration over time. So we use that Facebook system that I just showed you to retarget people. Retargeting means that based on these prior actions, we're going to show them other ads of things that will be appealing to them. So the other ads that we often show, a lot of times I love to see agents use video. If you're using video to follow up with your leads, conversion rates go much, much higher because they see your face, they hear your voice, they know your personality, they have a better sense of what it is that you can help them with. And that is very, very powerful. So when people start implementing the short and the long term that we're talking about, I've seen agents who typically, instead of the 1 to 2, sometimes 3% conversion rates that we see, I see agents getting more into the 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8% conversion rate because they've been consistent. So if you've been converting leads, you need to have the short-term follow-up and the long-term follow-up. It takes both, because otherwise you're just leaving money on the table, right? So again, keep in mind, leads convert at different time periods. Some people go through this funnel very quickly to where they convert within just a matter of days. Other people, it takes them months or even years. And so from my perspective, I don't really care if that lead is ready today or 6 months from today. That's still a good lead, right? I just want to stay in touch with them and have a system for doing it. So if you'll follow the directions and some of the training here, these are some of the best secrets, if you want to call them that, about being consistent to generating higher conversion ratios. Again, I've seen people double, triple, even 4 times what the typical conversion rate is by implementing these systems and doing what we're talking about. So these are the kinds of things that we help people with in their business. We help them set up the systems and the follow-up mechanisms so that they are more effective with the leads that they're generating. So that is today's training on the secrets of lead conversion, how to generate even higher lead conversion numbers for your online leads. So if that was valuable, give us a thumbs up down below. That split second, that little click helps us tremendously, and we appreciate your support. Thank you for that. Also, if you want more strategies, more tips just like this to help you grow your real estate business, please consider subscribing. Click the subscribe button, hit the little bell for notifications. You'll be notified every time we put out a brand new video. And then lastly, if you want more information about our coaching and training services, or if you want to learn about our online courses, things that will help you grow your business, I'll put a link to that down below in the description. Please check that out, and we'll see how we can help you grow your business. So with that, make it a fantastic week. Hope you're successful. Also, be on the lookout for next week. Next week is the week of Thanksgiving, and we've got a killer Black Friday special that we're putting out. It's going to be a massive, massive savings on some of the things that we offer, and so keep a lookout for that. Anyway, with that, make it a great week. Keep crushing it with your marketing, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.